Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. If you could say something on the chat to make sure that it works, that would be much appreciated. Yeah, amazing. Okay, so welcome everyone to this online session. My name is Georgina. I'm a creative learning producer at the CCI. And today we're here to talk about the Diploma in Creative Computing, which is a very exciting course that we started running this year at the CCI. And first of all, as a heads up, this session will be recorded and then posted on the YouTube, so you can always revisit it, watch it again if you have like anything, any question, or send it to a friend that couldn't make it today, maybe. And we're gonna have the chance to hear from Ben Stopher, who's the dean at the CCI today. So Joel Gethin Lewis, who's the main tutor at the diploma, and a current diploma student who's Jessie Zhang. And in the end, we have the chance to open up like 2 questions and do a small Q&A. So please feel free to chat, to put on the chat any questions you might have about the course, or maybe you have a specific question about Jessie's experience being part of to Ben. So that's like the kind of space where we can just put all the questions on anything you wanna hear more about really during the session. So then we're gonna do our best to gather all the questions during the presentations, and then we'll try to cover it all during this Q&A in the end. I just know that after this session, we're gonna send up a follow-up email with a link to the application, which is online already and available for everyone, and also a link to this video so you can rewatch or share it with other people. So yeah, that's all from my side. And now and start with his presentation. Are you there, Ben?
Hi, I'm here. So I hope everyone can see me. Excellent. So my name is Ben Stopher. I'm the Dean of the Creative Computing Institute. I'm the person responsible for the fact that this diploma exists, and we're sort of really excited to share some of that with you today. I don't want to say too much because Joel is going to say to talk you through the sort of the details. The diploma exists because the Creative Computing Institute thinks that a key pillar of creative agency across subjects is a facility with computational technology, and we wanted to create a really interesting opportunity for students from all UAL's disciplines in the arts, in design, in crafts, to add a computing specialism to their degree. And as you will have seen, if you do come do a year with us and then return to your college, you will graduate with your degree plus with creative computing. So fine art student, your degree will be a BA Fine Art with creative computing. So it's a really interesting opportunity to do a joint honours degree and extend your study with UAL. I know Joel is going to talk through the unit, give you a very quick bit of unit structure. So I'm going to share just one slide, which is just a unit diagram, which gives you a very quick sense of the diploma year. Joel's going to talk about these units and what they actually mean, and so is Jessie. So the unit is, the course is 2 blocks, as is common across UAL, essentially 2 semesters that they cross terms 1 and 2 and terms 2 and 3. In the institute, you study 3 units in parallel. And this is quite common across all our qualifications. You study sort of applied computer science stuff, so creative coding and computing frameworks, computational futures and AI, which is a coursework and essay-based investigation around computational media and artificial intelligence. And then you do an applied practice unit where you're applying the learnings in those other units to creative project work, which is much more familiar, I would say, to you as students. And that's semester 1. In semester 2, you're doing coding for collaborative app development, and Joel will talk about that. You're looking at working in the digital creative industries, and we do, in normal times, studio visits, industry talks, etc. So you can think about the new skills you've got and where you might kind of deploy those when you go back to your subject, and also on graduation. We've been doing a lot of video calls with industry professionals at the moment, obviously in this time of COVID-19, and then computational environments, sort of scaling up your practice to be sort of interactive and looking at how it works with people and space. So that's a sort of very quick sort of structural diagram of how the unit works. And what that means is each semester you have some exam-based content around your computer science stuff, you have some academic writing and presentation work, and you have the presentation of creative practice, and you do that at the end of each semester. So there's a sort of holistic approach to the assessment, which is easy for students to sort of understand and anticipate. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Joel Gethin-Lewis, who is the sort of main creative force in the teaching team on the diploma. He's done an amazing bunch of work with students this year, and I'm looking forward to him giving you a bit more detail on just what it's like to study the diploma. So I'm going to stop staring at the slide and hand over to Joel.
Hey Ben, thanks very much for that introduction, and hello to everyone out there. Can you hear me speaking? Am I being transmitted accurately? Yes. Is that a yes? Good. Thank you very much, Georgina, and thank you, Jade, Sonia, Will, and Caroline as well for jumping in there. So as Ben said, the kind of main function of the diploma is to work in concert with your existing BA that you'll be between your second and third year. So before your final year, you come and do a year of creative computing with us at the Camberwell site in the CCI tower, which is all shiny and beautiful, and we can't wait to reopen it post-plague. But what I'm going to do now is start sharing some of the actual content that I've been teaching this year, just to give you guys a bit of an impression of what it's actually like to do the course. So if I just share the screen, then you guys should be able to see. So this is the GitHub for the course itself. And all of the course materials are available on my GitHub. So if you guys want to take a look at those later, I'll put those links up in the chat. And there's a whole series of information on this GitHub page, from some information about me, the units that I teach in the first block, which spans across terms 1 and halfway through term 2. And the first 2 units that I teach in that block are the Creative Coding and Creative Computing Frameworks unit, and the Creative Practice Visual Coding and Physical Computing units. Now, this revolves in Unit 1 about an introduction to JavaScript and C++, 2 programming languages that are very useful in creative code, and with 2 specific areas of that, P5.js and Open Frameworks, which are respectively P5.js is a JavaScript language library, and Open Frameworks is one in C++. Another thing that's an important part of the course is the use of online tools for collaboration and to support creative computing projects in general. So with that in mind, we use Slack as our primary means of communication. And then we also use the P5.js editor, GitHub, and glitch.com to deploy our creative projects into the world so people can interact with them. The second unit of block 1 that I teach on is much more related to visual coding and creative computing, and that again uses P5.js in terms of giving the ability to code interactive visuals, but there's also a whole section on building physical computing, and that's where we introduce the Arduino library and using Arduino to make physical interactions in the real world. And of course, on top of that, we also have case studies, presentation, workshops, discussions, and studio, gallery, and museum visits that go with that. Now, one of the things that's important to realize that Ben mentioned in his introduction is that there's a variety of assessment that takes place on the course. So Unit 1 is assessed in 2 ways, via a multiple choice test and a practical coding exam. So in the multiple choice test, you get a series of 4 potentially correct answers, and you have an hour to complete 20 of those. And then Unit 3 is completely project-based. So this is assessed via a presentation of your work and a portfolio of content that you submit with that as well. In addition to that, I set some homework projects, which are all based on this fantastic upcoming book, Code as a Creative Medium, from Golan Levin and Tiger Brain over in the US, and they've been very generous in allowing us to use that material. Now, if I switch over now to the actual lecture lecture slides, you guys should be able to get an impression of the kind of things that I'll introduce you to in the first block. And this takes a variety of forms, but the lecture series has this series of titles that introduce you in the first course to creative computing as an idea. And the way I like to do that initially is to talk about basically the ethics of the course, and one of the things that we encourage on this course is the use of open source software wherever possible, and actually the remixing of people's code. So it's not that we see that as stealing, we see that as building upon other people's work, standing on the shoulders of giants, as it were. I also reference some of my favorite artists: Agnes Martin, Ali Alvers, Lillian Schwartz, Namjoon Pike, and Bruce Nauman. And then we have a discussion about how to criticize each other, which is a really important part of the course, which is that taking criticism from the tutors, the teaching staff, but also from your peers is a really critical part of what we want to develop in your practice. And that's one of the things that's really important. And one of the reasons I'm so excited about teaching on this course this year, and hopefully with some of you guys next year, is the opportunity to help you develop your practice. And that's the reason that I chose to lecture on the diploma, because I was so excited by the potential of working with people that have a existing practice in whatever area, whether it's graphic design, ceramics, textiles, or any of the other courses that are available at UAL. My aim is to give you a whole bunch of creative computing knowledge that you can then bring into your existing practice and hopefully move that forward. Another one of my favorite parts of this initial talk is teaching people how to count in binary, which enables me to tell the fantastic programmer joke. If I scroll through to here, oh, almost there, almost there, almost there. All these wonderful artists. Binary. And once you know how to count in binary, you can understand the fantastic programmer joke. There are only 10 kinds of people in the world: those that understand binary and those that don't. And that's, I limit myself to one programmer joke a day or per lecture, which Jessie can attest to as well. So that's the first series of lectures in block 1 in term 1. And what I'll do now, though, is I'll give you a little look at the teaching that we're currently involved in block 2, which revolves around in this time of C19 an investigation into how we can use multi-user applications at 5JS to make interactions that are both playful and caring. So let me just share the correct screen for those lectures, and then we can take a look at those. Okay, so these are the lectures that I'm currently giving now in the summer 2020 block 2 third term. I'd like to just give you a little look at the introduction that I gave a few weeks back. As you can see, I have to prompt myself to record and take the register at every available opportunity. And the brief that we're going through this term is based around this idea of care and play, which was pioneered by this lecturer and philosopher, David Graeber. And this was a presentation that he gave at the CCC conference between Christmas and Christmas and New Year of last year. And what he talks about in that lecture is this idea that the only 2 sustainable activities that we've discovered in the human race are caring activities and playful ones. And that is indeed the brief that I set for this term. I've also been collaborating with my dear friend Conan Levin, and he's allowed me to use some of his work around telematic interactions. And here are some examples of the kind of interactions that I'm fascinated with. Literally the telematic ones. This is this fantastic diagram that Golan gave to me. This is where the art happens between 2 computers. Agario is a great example of that. but also this idea of cairns in the real world, right? A place where people come together to leave a physical artifact to mark their journey through space and time. I wanted to demonstrate some of the things that we've been working with this term. So let's have a look at some of these demonstrations. So this is one of my favorite ones. This is a face deformation application. So if we start this off here, you can see it's tracking my face in real time. Oh, quite well. And then I can actually start distorting my face in real time. So let's pick out some of these. What about cheery? Can I get that one going? Let's see if I can. This is the danger of doing demonstrations in real time in presentations. Is it gonna? There we go. So I can distort my face in real time, and this really shows the possibility of interaction using the web to make this stuff happen in real time. There we go. I can make myself evil, artificial indeed, or I can actually tweak any of these components as well, so that I can distort my face in real time. Look at that. What pure joy interaction is. The other demonstration I wanted to show you guys today was some of the work that we've been doing around body tracking. And this is a real-time demonstration here that's been deployed onto Glitch. So we just have to get that one started up. And you can see this is actually tracking my body in real time using this fantastic JavaScript library, ML5JS, that we've been making a lot of use of this term. The final thing I wanted to show you guys as just a little sneak preview is this experience called Like, which has been which we're currently porting to use for our final end of year show that I hope you guys will all come to. So with the help of some colleagues at Carnegie Mellon University over in Pittsburgh in the US, we've made this online experience that we're currently customizing to make it perfect for Camberwell. And I can pick my avatar, I can choose my body. There we go, that's what I'm going to look like today. And then we've got a real-time interactive environment here where I can click around in this beautiful pixelated 8-bit style. I can go out in the backyard, I can pet Harvey if I want. There we go, I've petted the dog. And I can go and hang out outside the gallery as well. So we're really looking forward to, in this time of plague, developing some interactions that allow people to be playful and caring and interesting in this strange and wonderful time that we find ourselves in. So hopefully that'll give you guys a little bit of an impression of the kind of things that you will be learning over the period of Creative Computing Diploma. And with that, I'd like to hand back to the team. And I think next up, Jessie will be speaking to us, who's one of the students that has been on the course this term and year. Jessie, are you there? Oh, we can't hear you. Oh, I can't hear you.
Hello.
Now we can hear you. Yes, great. I will turn off my screen.
Cool. So, hi everyone, I'm Jessie, and I came from the BA in Graphic Communication Design at CSM. So coding for me was something that I had been interested in for quite a while, but I didn't really feel like I had much time or opportunity to learn it myself. On my BA, I don't know if there are any CSM GCD students here who share this experience, but I was introduced to coding through Joel's lecture series in first year. And then we had a unit with Yaps and Matt exploring code and physical computing. And I just really enjoyed these. So for me, there's something like a little bit magical about typing characters in on your laptop and then generating something, whether it's audio, visual, something interactive. And I feel like since the world is becoming increasingly digital, computing is a very valuable skill to have in your arsenal, and it's really powerful. You can do amazing things with code. So when the diploma at CCI was announced, it was kind of perfect for me. What have I learned so far? This year, because of the disruption from the pandemic, all of our projects have been and will be completed in JavaScript, but I don't think this will be the case for the coming year. So obviously JavaScript is an incredibly useful and powerful language. I think it's the most used language by developers. And of course the web runs on JavaScript, so you can really do amazing things with it. And we were also introduced to Open Frameworks, which is a C++ toolkit before classes moved online. And that's also something that I'm continuing to learn in my own time, because you can build really great interactive experiences with it, and it's just really high performance. My personal experience of learning code is that it's very different to what I had been doing on my BA. It's very technical, and it's frustrating at times when you get bugs that you don't understand, but I find it very rewarding. So you do have to put in hard work to get results, and you have to be patient. I will say that being mathematically minded is an advantage, but I don't think it's essential at all. Personally, I'm good at maths for someone who goes to art school. Like, I did well in maths at A-level, but I think that from my experience, maybe this helps me to understand new coding concepts more quickly. But everyone in class is working at such a high level. So, you know, as with anything, if you put in the work, you will get results. You know, everyone from the class comes from really different courses at UAL, and it's interesting to see how their art or design practice informs the work that they do at CCI. And we're all, you know, just like learning from each other as well. I'll just show you the project that I did in the first half of the year, to hopefully give you an idea of the kind of work that you might do. So if I just share my screen, it's lagging a bit, sorry. I'm not sure why this isn't working. This is the thing with technology, I guess. It always fails when you need it live. I'll try this again. Share screen. Oh, never mind. I can do it this way, hopefully. 1 second. Cool. Here we go. So, is this working? Can you see this?
Yes, I can see it. It's working.
Can you see this moving plane of particles here? Or is
Yes.
it? Cool. Amazing. Thanks, Joel. So this is an audio reactive plane of particles, I guess, that sort of works. It's in 3D, so I built this with 3JS, and I'm so sorry if you can hear my laptop going off. It's not very happy with me at the moment. So I'm just going to quit that now before something burns. Stop sharing. So that was meant to work in VR, so I used the WebXR API and built a Web VR API to a polyfill. So if you have a VR headset or just your phone with a Google Cardboard or something, I think Android phones support this. Yeah, you can do this and you have that. And I actually want to come back to this subject at some point because I think there's a lot of room for improvement. But yeah, what I'm currently doing, hopefully this will work a little better, is trying to make speech bubbles. So please work. Amazing. Cool. Can you Can you see this?
Yeah.
Let's fix up. What's up?
Nice background.
Thank you.
I like how just casually using the command line and saying it as if it's nothing compared to what it would have been when you started.
Yeah, oh god. When I started, it was a real headache. So this is tracking the key points of my body. And I'm trying to wave at you guys. But I need to get this to work with multiple users now. And also, the end goal is to sort of be able to upload bubbles and then interact with them with, you know, hand tracking, face tracking, maybe send them to other users. And maybe I'll try and attempt to get it to work on phones, but I'm not really sure if a browser can handle well hand tracking and audio input at the same time. So that's something I need to figure out. Inspiration for this includes Zach Lieberman's Weird Type app and Jodie Hudson Powell's AR experiments. Both of these guys are really cool, so you should check them out. So as for how I will use these skills that I'm developing, I'm interested in this idea of the fourth industrial revolution and its unprecedented rate of progress in science and technology that we're seeing and how it's affecting and will affect society. I also really like working in 3 dimensions. I think that in many ways 2D can be sometimes limiting. So I'm interested in exploring this interface between physical and digital and the interactions that can be had there. And that's the reason why I've been working with a 3D JavaScript library, 3JS. Another thing I'm interested in is design fictions. So this idea of visualizing potential futures in order to pose questions. Preference people I'm inspired by include Alexandra Daisy Ginsburg, Dana Raby, Superflux. So based on all of this, I think that coding is something that will be very valuable to me as I sort of try and find myself as a designer. It's a work in progress. So if you're hesitant about applying, I would say think about why you want to do this course and what you hope to gain out of it. Are you prepared to work hard and be challenged and feel frustrated? Because things go wrong a lot. And, you know, will developing a foundation in coding be beneficial to your personal art or design practice? Or is it just something that you're interested in and just want to learn it? Yes, for me, obviously, the answer was yes to all of these questions. And I'm really glad that I took this year because I found it very valuable. You know, of course, there are times where I feel completely at a loss because nothing seems to be going right. But yeah, that feeling when I finally get something to work is pretty indescribable. It's really rewarding. Yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope this was helpful to you.
Thanks, Jessie. That was awesome.
Thank you, Jessie.
Can I just
That was
jump
great.
in? Can I just jump in and
Yeah,
just
sure.
show 2 slides that I should have shown when I was doing my presentation and that Jessie made me think of when she was doing her fantastic demonstration of her project from last block and her project that she's working on now. I wanted to show this image, right? This is one of the principles of, I think, is one of the things, the wider things that you're going to learn from the diploma, right? I want to emphasize that it isn't just about learning to code. It's also about thinking in a kind of computational way, getting familiar with this kind of computational thinking method, right? And one of the things that's important to do is get used to this process of developing prototypes and iterating them on them very, very quickly. And this is one of the things that I'm really keen for people to learn. And this diagram here shows this idea, which is if you want to build a car, don't try to build a car, right? If you want to build a car, first build a skateboard, then a push skateboard, then a bicycle, then a motorbike, then a car, right? And so it's those ways of thinking and getting into this mindset, as Jessie says, of being comfortable. I guess failure is a strong word, but getting used to that idea of constantly attacking a problem and taking any problem, any creative challenge that you set yourself, and being able to break that down into smaller parts. And before you know it, you'll actually be using this kind of language every day. So one of the things that we hear, the refrain of, that I say constantly, and Jessie will hear all the time and is very sick of, is people saying, is me saying to people, what's the skateboard of that idea? And by that I mean, it's like, what's the most basic, almost stupidest thing you could do to start trying this problem out and start working with it? And then the last graphic I want to show you is this one, my spirit animal. I don't know if anyone knows who this is. This is one of my heroes, my heroine, Dory, from the fantastic Finding Nemo. And this is the truth of the matter, which is when you're working, all you've got to do is just keep swimming. Right? You just have to keep swimming. And this is the thought that I constantly have in my mind. When I'm coding and writing software myself, I'm constantly thinking about this as well. So I just wanted to put that one up there. I'll stop sharing that file now, and I'll hand back over to Georgina.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Joel. Cool. So we have plenty of questions to go through now. So we're going to start with the one that Kiara sent early on. Says, when you say you're all working at a high level, would you say you feel prepared enough to take on programming jobs once you finish the diploma? And that's addressed to Jessie, I guess. Maybe Jessie, you can share a bit about how you feel about that.
I'm not sure what you mean by programming jobs, but I'm definitely confident now to include coding in my work, and I think it's something that I want to include in my professional practice after I leave university, whether that's as a creative technologist or a designer who happens to use code. I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in on this.
I think it's also about the idea of, even if you, when you go back to your final year, even if you're not using code every day or in your post-graduation, I think it gives you a familiarity with the language, the technical terms. I don't know if you guys were listening to Jessie when she was saying in her presentation, she was dropping in terms like API, JavaScript, web editor, let me just boot up the server. All of this stuff is brand new knowledge that she's learned in this year that she's been here. And I think it's, even if you get to the point of graduation where, let's say you go into, say you're doing a BA in ceramics, right, and you graduate, having the terms and the technical terms and the knowledge and the Dory attitude and the skateboard ideas all together means that you can collaborate with people on their own terms, and especially people that might have technical knowledge that you don't have. And I think that's one of the things that I'm really excited about the diploma, is because there's so many people from different BAs, from the whole UAL family, that everyone has got things that they're good at, and everyone's got things that they're not, perhaps not so strong at. And part of the point of the course is to get that collaboration going, and that's what's really going to prepare you for your life post UAL, right? Is that you're always going to have to collaborate with people. It's very rare that people have a completely solo practice. So I think that's one of the things that I'm really keen for people to learn, and I think that's one of the things that people have been learning on this course.
Yeah, can I jump in as well? So the question of programming jobs, again, is a sort of interesting one because it's such a diverse idea. But the diploma is designed that you could definitely, with some application in terms of your own effort in the program, apply for junior programming digital roles in the sort of broad digital creative industries, and we take you from a place where you might not have a lot of experience at all to a place where that is definitely something you could be confident doing. And I think it is, it's like being, it's like being a journalist, right? You don't learn to be a journalist at university. You learn to be a journalist by working at a newspaper, right? And it's the same thing. It's like, what do you need to know to be a journalist? You need to know how to write. You need to know how to communicate. You need to know the sort of terms of engagement. You need to kind of be introduced to that culture. And that's what we're doing. We are putting you in a place where you will not be intimidated by learning technology, and you could easily take a really interesting job that has a large coding element and then kind of train through that with confidence. And I think that is the same of anyone that's done any kind of technical education. You know, you graduate at a point where you are able to understand what those opportunities are and take advantage of them. And that's really what the diploma is aimed at doing. So that sort of helps understand a bit.
I just wanted to say one other thing is you guys should realize that actually people with a creative background and a coding skill are in far higher demand than people with just a coding skill, right? And one of the things that's brilliant about this diploma course is the connections that we're going to give you through studio visits and other things like that with people who are working in that area right now. One of the partners of the CCI is Google, and one of the things that they are screaming out for is they are desperate for people with design skills and programming knowledge. That's one of the kind of key intersections. And I think if you want to think about this philosophically, that some of the problems that we're seeing right now in the digital industries around privacy, bias, minority rights, women's rights online, all of these questions that are going on, the reason that they've become problems is because previously this industry has been dominated by white, middle class, straight men, and we need diversity, and companies are desperate for it. So that I just wanted to say that one. And then the final thing I wanted to say was the thing that I most want people to do on this course is to become autodidacts, right? That's a technical term, but that means someone who's able to teach themselves. So what I want to do is I want to give you the tools that can help you teach yourself these things, because this industry and this world, this digital world that we find ourselves, is moving so fast that you're always going to have to be learning new things. There's no such thing as a stop in this. It's going to be lifelong learning.
Amazing, thank you for that. The next one, Jade is asking to clarify whether Python will be taught the next academic year. Maybe Ben or Joel can fit in that.
I think Python is touched upon in some of the machine learning stuff, but we're not explicitly teaching Python. But that's one of the things that we can do is, if there's a demand for this stuff, I'm always happy to put on extra workshops and extra tutorials around bits of technology that people are interested in. But the way it normally happens is someone has a creative goal in mind, and then we pick the tools that need to happen. And actually, I'm trying to give people the confidence to be able to take something on to say, right, I need to learn Python. I'm going to go and learn Python. And because actually, one of the dirty secrets of the computing or digital world is most programming languages are pretty much the same. So if you can understand some of the basics of things like variables and loops and object-orientated ideas, other things like that, you can apply those to pretty much any language out there.
Yeah.
Sorry, one last thing. You don't need any programming knowledge at all. Okay, I want to impress that upon people. In fact, I'd prefer it if you didn't, because then I can just inject you with the best programming knowledge rather than some terrible thing that you've already been taught.
Yeah. I mean, I can attest that Joel really does want that. Just on the program languages thing. So we have a sort of flexibility in the units to decide where we're going to focus. This year, because of COVID-19, we've kind of chosen a few different things that sort of fit well with online learning. But the core languages this year, so we've obviously done a lot of web stuff and JavaScript. We've done C++ for open frameworks. We did a bunch of Swift work that we put down because of the COVID-19 and switched back to JavaScript stuff. But we did that. There are bits of Python in the course in terms of workshops. But the other thing is that the CCI is a whole environment in that, and there is a creative computing degree and a master's in creative computing. There is a new MA in internet equalities. There is a master's of research in creative computing. There are lots of workshops on the other courses that you get access to as part of the CCI. And a lot of our researchers write their core research language is Python. So if you want to, do a bit of PyTorch for machine learning and stuff like that, there are opportunities to dive into that, even if they're not sort of core languages. So just to say that.
Amazing, thank you. So Sonia's asking, do you think in a subject like interior design, the course would be of help or will it be not of use?
Yes.
Who wants to get it? Yes.
I want some
Yes.
interior design students. That would be awesome, right? This idea of thinking about spaces, either interiors or architecture on a larger scale, public spaces. One of the places I lectured previously was on the MA Narrative Environments course at Central St Martin's. So that's something that's part of my practice. Previous companies that I've worked for, including United Visual Artists and my old studio, Hellico and Lewis, my entire practice was based about making experiences in the real world and using digital technologies to sense those. So yes, please, we want more interior designers.
I would only say
Amazing.
that there will only be more sort of interactive digital spaces in the future, right? There's not going to be less of those. So that's the answer to that question.
Great. I love the next one. Matt is asking, what does a typical week look like at the CCI and how many days, hours are we in classes?
So I'm going to answer this in a very sort of straight way, and then Joel can tell me, kind of add to it a little bit. The core taught hours in the CCI are 4 hours per unit per week. So you're doing 3 units, 3 core taught hours per unit per week. So that's 12 taught hours per week. So 3 taught sessions of 4 hours. Tom's just put up the diagram there. So you're doing 4 hours of creative coding and computing frameworks, 4 hours around computational futures and AI, and 4 hours of visual coding and physical computing in term 1. Obviously, there are tutorials and other sort of enhancement stuff around that, and maybe Joel wants to talk a bit about that.
So there's core. The way I tend to do things is I do lectures on Monday mornings and Tuesday mornings, and then Monday afternoons and Tuesday afternoons are around tutorials, either in groups or in one-to-one sessions. And I think those are probably the most valuable sessions for me. I don't know if Jessie found those useful as well, but those opportunities to talk one-to-one in detail about people's practice that's my favorite bit.
Yeah, definitely. Those were really helpful. Thanks, Joel.
Amazing. On to the next one. So Jade is asking, I did a foundation as part of the course fees loan. Could I still go for the CCI diploma and pay for it via the loan? Maybe this one is for Ben.
Yeah, so that should be okay. What we'll do is that when we've confirmed offers of places following the formal application process, which I'll talk about in a minute, we work with the university funding team to confirm everyone's funding, so you don't have to worry about that. You just make your application, we kind of accept people, make the offers, and then we just confirm with the university funding team for everyone's funding who is a home EU student and is using the loan system. So don't worry about that. You don't need to worry about that at this point. It's usually fine.
Lovely, thanks, Ben. This one is for you as well. Sonia is asking if we need to stop our current course to take on the diploma and what happens after.
Yes, so yeah, absolutely. So what happens is you finish your second year, which I'd imagine you're all second years now. You come to us for a year, and at the end of that, you go back and do the final year of your course. Essentially, the diploma in UAL is a 4th year of your current course, and as I said, you graduate with BA Honours Interior Design in brackets with creative computing if you come to us for a year.
Amazing, thank you, Ben. This one is for Joel. Kiara is asking, on the website, it mentions that you'll be using MAX MSP classes, but also Joel said you prefer open source programs. So if we do cover this, will we loan a license or will we actually use an open source alternative?
So yes, open source for the win. Obviously, I love open source. I heart open source. But in that case, I've got good relations with people at Cycling 74 for the company that own Max MSP, and they're very generous in terms of student licenses and stuff like that. And I'd say that that's a UAL-wide thing as well in terms of Adobe licenses and all the other software that's available. We can get hold of software. Basically, licensing is no odds to us. I prefer open source stuff because I want you as students to own the means to production of the work that you're doing. And there is a danger there if you're using closed source software, as happened to me when I was a student. When I was at Royal College of Art 2001 to 2003, I was taught Macromedia Director, which was dropped 2 years after I graduated, so my means of income disappeared. So that's the reason that I prefer open source programs. But basically, whatever software we need to get hold of for teaching, we will get hold of it, and you don't have to worry about the financial impact on you guys at all.
Yeah, can I just ask Tom, who's our technical lead, to just talk a little bit about what we've got in the Institute? The other thing to say is that there is a team of technical specialist technicians that exist in the CCI, which Tom heads up, and they are also available to support you with physical computing, project builds, and also kind of run workshops outside the curriculum as well.
Yeah, so my webcam's not working, which is why you haven't seen me so far today. But yeah, so we have a number of pieces of equipment, such as Arduinos, Raspberry Pis, and things like that, that students can loan for projects. We also have a range of software, including Max MSP, MadMapper, Ableton Live, and a bunch of other bits and pieces set up on our machines in the Institute. So we have 26 high-end desktop Windows machines and 24 high-end MacBook Pro laptops, which you can take out of lockers. So if you're familiar with the library locker system, we basically have like souped that up to high-spec Macs, and we're making it available dedicated just for CCI students. So that stuff's all ready there, and we'll continue to invest in things as people suggest that we need to.
Thank you, Tom. So next one is for Ben as well. Guy is asking, for international students, is it possible to get a visa extension for the diploma, assuming that now it should expire after the 3rd year of the course?
So simple answer that yes, it is possible to get a visa extension. And again, just like with funding, the central visa team, once we accept you, will work with you on securing your visa extension.
Lovely, thank you. Sid is asking what happens if we don't have a solid portfolio? Will it affect my chances to get into the CCI? So
I'm going to take this one. The short answer is no, and maybe this is a good time to talk a little bit about the application process. So after this session, we will post all of you a link to the form application form. It's relatively short. What's most important in that is just giving a sense of why you want to do it. We're much more interested in you as being interested in the opportunity than we are in finished work. Because you're all on UAL courses, I don't have to worry about your level of commitment and talent already. That's already been done. You achieved a place at UAL already. I don't have to worry about that. What I want to know is tell me why you want to do the course, tell me why it's interesting to you, and show me that you're sort of committed to the idea of really engaging with it. That's all we want in the application. And the portfolio is just there just to give us a sense of who you are. It's no more than that. It's about us being able to have a look at what you do. If you've got a very good portfolio, that's also fine, as long as you can tell us why you really want to do this. That's fine.
Thank you, Ben. I can see quite a lot of questions around the portfolio and process of application, which hopefully has already been solved. But Agatha is asking, what level of computing knowledge do we have to apply? I guess the short answer is none, really.
You've just got to be enthusiastic. Just got to be into it. You've got to have the energy and the drive and wanting to do it. I need to see your Dory qualities. I want to see that you can just keep swimming. And I think generally that when I was running my old studio, when I was working for United Visual Artists, or now in my other role as interactive creative director at Universal Everything, we look for people who are enthusiastic. We want geeks. We want people who are nerds for stuff. I don't care what you're into. I just care that you're into it. That's what I care about.
Amazing, thank you, Joel. Caitlin was asking about whether there was an interview. The answer is no. We just need to fill in the form that's online. Then we have another question from Constance to Joel. Will we have meetings regarding jobs relating to creative computing practice?
So yes, that's slightly been disrupted this year with the plague, but one of the things that I love doing in my practice, professional and my teaching practice, is connecting people with people that are a good fit. I think Jessie mentioned some of the studios that she's interested in, and I have contacts with all of those, from Superflux to Daniel Hirschman over in New York, to Zach Lieberman in New York. I set up a company with Zach Lieberman a couple of years back called Yes, Yes, No. So I, through my last 20 years of experience in creative computing, have contacts in pretty much everywhere in the world. So it's up to you to find the places that you want to go, and then I can make that happen.
The other thing I would say is that we have a specific unit in the second block, which is around sort of just getting you to know the different parts of the creative industries, where you could go, and who those people are. And we have students, we have collaborative PhD students with Google Creative Labs. We have various kind of internship programs in development. Our CCI DPS is launching at the end of next year, and so there's a lot of sort of work around that. So we really make an effort to try and expand your horizons on where you could go with your discipline plus sort of creative technology skills and ambitions.
Amazing. Next one is for Ben as well. When will we find out if we have a place once applying?
Okay, so the link we sent you, we've got a deadline for the first round of applications. It's 2 weeks today, so you'll have 2 weeks to fill out the form. We will then turn around the decisions within a week, so about 2.5 weeks, 2.5 to 3 weeks.
Lovely. Kat was asking about the application pathway. I think we've talked about it. If there's any other doubts that you have, Kat, please type it on the chat, but I think everything has been covered. Then the next one from Kiara, she says, for later is how does CCI plan to maintain the relationship with future alumni? For Ben.
That's an interesting question. So we run, apart from the university systems like Blackboard, Collaborate, and Moodle, we also run Slack team working infrastructure to connect you across levels, across courses, and with our technical staff, and also the course admins and stuff like that. And maybe Jessie can say a very little bit about that. We are planning to keep our alumni in our Slack ecosystem, so they have access to tutors and technicals when they go back to their courses, and then after they graduate as well, because it's not tied to you being at the university. So that's the key way that we're going to maintain that graduate network. And Tom and I have worked in different departments where we have done that very successfully with some of our old students. And actually, Tom was a undergrad student of mine, so it's definitely working many years ago. So Jessie, can you just talk a bit about the how Slack works at the CCI, and how you sort of engage with other bits of the CCI for support?
Well, for Slack, we've got different channels for each of the units that we do, and we can ask unit-specific questions in those. But there are also other university-wide or college-wide channels about specific topics, like, random bits that people think might be interesting to others, or opportunities, technical questions, things like that. So, if you have a question, you can ask it in the Slack, and it will probably be answered. And yeah, it's a good place to look for interesting content as well that people share.
Lovely, thanks, Jessie. The next question says, what kind of access would we have to your facilities and technical knowledge after completing the year?
Again, so in terms of being on the Slack channel, you can sort of message us at any time for technical support. In terms of equipment, usually you're covered back in your own technical department, but we're pretty open to supporting students as much as we can, bearing in mind that we've got to manage the equipment that we have. So there's a sort of, there's a sort of straightforward, yes, you can get in touch, and we very much see students that come to the diploma as a sort of special kind of extra UAL family. And when you go back to your colleges, you've got this sort of secret handshake that you do with other students, that you're part of the CCI family, and that includes being able to come back to us for advice and kind of technical support when you need it.
Yeah, I think it's also worth just adding that as obviously you are students at your existing college, whilst you're studying at the institute, you continue to have access to your resources from the college you came from at the same time as having access to the institute resources. So it sort of augments that. So we've sort of focused our equipment on those types of things, and you can obviously, within reason, as Ben's saying, access things after, because obviously we recognize some colleges might not have the type of things that we have in our kit.
Amazing, thanks, Tom. Gabrielle is asking for clarification on how we choose who gets on the course and whether people that have done a CCI intensive course gets priority.
So quickly, we look for, can you make a really good case of why you definitely want to do it, and it would be a benefit to you. There is no preference for people that have done CCI courses. The only thing I would say is if you've done some CCI intensive courses, you might have a bit more knowledge around what we're looking for and that kind of stuff. So you might be a bit better at writing a statement. But no, there's no kind of formal preference for that.
Thank you, Ben. The next one is for you as well. How many students are going to be on the diploma? Joseph and Ruthy are asking.
Okay, so there are 38 students, I think, formally on the diploma this year. There is a target of between 50 and 60 for next year. So that's roughly what we're looking at.
Amazing. We also have a question for you that says, would it be possible for UAL staff to join these sessions or this course overall? Okay,
so it won't be possible for staff to do these units with on the diploma, but we have loads of staff facing events and workshops that are running for staff. So and they engage with some of the same ideas and similar content. We also have just launched a bunch of online courses on FutureLearn, and there are actually 12,000 people doing CCI courses on FutureLearn right now, which is sort of amazing. But staff can obviously sign up to those, and they're introductions to creative AI, designing a feminist chatbot, and all sorts of stuff. So do check that out. Gigi, your mic's off, Gigi.
Sorry. Annie is asking what level of maths is required for the course?
None. But I mean, some conception of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So if you've kind of gone through primary school maths, you'll be fine.
Amazing. Caitlin is also asking to Joel, will we do interface design or UX design on the course?
There's no explicit UX or UI design part, but inevitably you're making interfaces from day one because you're making projects that other people are going to be able to interact with, including yourself. So I'd say it's implicit rather than explicit.
Lovely. We have another question from Dan that is asking if we get an email confirmation after doing the application. We'll be in touch when the deadline is passed in 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks for like everyone that applied already. So when you fill in the application, I don't think you get a confirmation email, but we're always checking and all of them are going through correctly. So you shouldn't be concerned about it. We'll be in touch with everyone who put an application for sure.
And Georgina, just quickly to answer Joseph's question also,
yes.
Is there a automatic confirmation after applying or not?
There's none at the moment. Okay, the next one, Sarah is asking what campus does the CCI teach at? So we are in Southeast London in Camberwell, at Camberwell College of Arts. We're showing the new building that was built there. So hopefully that answers that question. Which is a lovely campus. It's all very new and shiny. We have Imogen asking Ben if the beginning of the course will be online due to the pandemic, or if they will be able to have physical teaching at the university.
That's a great question, and one that I don't have an answer to. It very much depends on what happens with government advice. We're prepared to teach online, and Jessie, actually, that's an interesting thing. Jessie, can I ask about you about how we've been at teaching online, and to give you a sense of, because obviously we've had to do it in an emergency. but you've experienced it. So how are we doing?
Honestly, really well. I think also there's an advantage in the fact that we are working digitally. We're doing JavaScript. It's web-based, so it is one of those things that you can teach online. Yeah, I think it's been going pretty well.
Yeah, so we did our course committees the other day, and we had lots of positive feedback around our online. So if we have to teach online in the autumn term, we will. We want to be back in our building. We want to be back face to face. That's the most fun. We've got a beautiful space in the CCI. It's a nice place to be. So I hope that answers as much as we can.
Lovely. The last two questions. This one is for Ben. Would it be possible to undertake both these courses and the DPS year as part of our studies?
No, you can only do either this or DPS. You won't be able to do the both.
Amazing. And the last one from Chiara. How will you maintain the same level of one-to-one approach with students if the class size doubles?
I've been working with Tom for some time on cloning technology in CCI Tower, so there will be at least 20 Joels running around. No, I think the honest answer to that is we're in planning for at the moment. There's going to be an impact whether we're going to be able to be there physically or not. But I think one of the discussions that Ben and I have been having over the last couple of months when planning for next year is a realization about how important these one-to-one sessions are, and that remains my priority. So I guess I'll be taking those as the priority, and we'll be getting other ALs and VLs to take up the teaching slack, because I think it's so important that I do have that one-to-one time with every student. Yeah,
the simple answer is more tutors, and we will be enlarging the CCI team a little bit to stretch to both the new numbers here, and also we've got new qualifications launching. So we'll be doing some hiring over the next few months. So that's how we'll do it.
Lovely. Thanks, everyone. I think we covered everything. What we're going to do now is follow up with the link to the application, the link to this video in case you want to rewatch or send it to a friend, and we'll always be available on email, so feel free to drop us any question you might have that wasn't covered or that might appear at some other point. Do you guys want to share anything else before we call it a session?
No, I just want to say thank you all. I
was going to say, just to say, maybe it would be useful if the link to this session was shared to you from a friend. Make sure you sign up by emailing CCI@ARC so that we can keep in touch with you.
Yes, definitely.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely afternoon and weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Good work this week. Congratulations. I love you. Goodbye.